nothing like calling her out for skipping. I love it. So, not everybody's into or pays attention to Lent and then Passion Week. I was raised Catholic, so that's huge for me, and I always know when it's coming, and I listen to things. I may not always practice now, but it's always in my consciousness. And so it was a real paradigm shift for me when I got into unity, and I was exploring unity principles and thinking about metaphysics and looking for the messages underneath the scripture and the literature and the stories and everything. And so this is from Keep a True Lent by Charles Fillmore, and he's talking about the symbolism behind all of the pageantry of Christmas. I'm just testing you. See if you're awake. Pageantry of Easter. So Palm Sunday is the Sunday preceding Easter. That's where we are today. Jerusalem, the holy city, symbolizes within us the habitation of peace, possession of peace, vision of peace, abode of prosperity within us. In man, Jerusalem is the abiding consciousness of spiritual peace, which is the result of continuous realizations of spiritual power tempered with spiritual poise and confidence. Jerusalem symbolizes the great nerve center just at the back of the heart. From this point, spirit sends its radiance to all parts of the body. Jesus symbolizes our I am identity. Remember, he is the great example, not the great exception. And all that Jesus did, we are capable of. We are in pure potentiality of that I am identity. Jesus riding the ass into Jerusalem means the fulfillment of the time when the spiritual I am within us takes control and lifts all the animal forces up to the spiritual plane of mastery, purity, and peace. When the I am takes charge of the body, a new order of things is inaugurated. The vitality is no longer wasted. Through high and pure ideals, the whole consciousness is raised to a higher standard. The hosannas of the rejoicing multitude on Palm Sunday, where they had the palms, they were greeting Jesus coming into the city, spreading of the garments and branches of trees before Jesus represent joyful obedience and homage that all the thoughts in one's consciousness give when an error state of mind is overcome. Blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord. In the name of Jesus Christ, I affirm, the spirit of him that raised up Jesus dwells in me, and I am made perfect. So Jesus is on this journey, and so are we. We are all on this journey as the I am identity to a higher plane. Not that lower is bad. Lower is just different. It's where we start out as we go on a journey. And so we're going to a higher plane. And that's what this Lenten period was for when we chose our words. And then we were all inspired to do something in particular about the word that chose us for the year. And now that Easter is coming next week, we are being led to our rising to that higher plane. That's something that the word that chose you is calling you to. That the word you have chosen is calling you to. We are all on this journey. So for us, it's like we are riding into Jerusalem. We are leaving behind the things that tell us, that error thought that tells us that we are less than, that we are not enough, that we don't have what we need in order to be what we are called to be in the world. We're leaving behind all of that. And that higher consciousness of the word that chose you is now starting to settle in. And as it settles, that's when we rise. As you embrace that word that chose you, you are in a rising pattern. In a rising pattern. And we can be in a rising pattern anytime, any day. Anytime that you decide that I have had enough of what's going on in my life right now, or there's a particular behavior or habit or something that you want to stop, and you want to create something from a higher plane and live at a higher plane in that regard, you are in a rising pattern. You are dying to what you are finished with, and that is your crucifixion. You are dying to something you don't want and rising to something else you are being called to. And we get to die to something and rise to something whenever we choose. Whenever we choose. So the rising is not just about Easter Sunday. The dying is not just about Good Friday. For some of us, there might be a dying and a rising several times a day. And if you're going through a really, really tough period, you probably feel like you are dying and rising minute by minute. Minute by minute. And so this Passion Week, especially Jesus has come out of the wilderness. Remember, we talked about the wilderness where he went. For those 40 days, he's coming out of this wilderness. He's had this time in prayer and meditation, sitting in his I am identity, wrestling with that and what he's being called to do on Good Friday and on Easter. He's taking all of that in. And he is firmly in prayer and meditation, away from everybody and everything, all distractions. He's away from all of that so that he has time and energy and the focus to take in whatever it is he's being called to. And he knows what's coming. He knows what's coming. And he's preparing himself for that. And he knows the only way to prepare is in that I am identity. He's been doing it all along, but on a different level and with everybody around. He's been doing it already. Every single time he performed a miracle, he assumed, he invoked his I am identity. Every single time. Every single time he was with someone, healed the sick, raised someone from the dead, turned water into wine, he invoked his I am identity. He was firmly in it, so all he had to do, he proclaimed it often out loud, and the miracle happened. And so he's our example. So when you're ready for a rising, when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired about something going on in your life, you follow the example, the great example. I'm currently reading Linda Martello Whitsett's book, How to Pray Without Talking to God, and she has some great chapters on denials and affirmations. And to speak out loud about what we don't want and what's currently going on, and then affirming what it is that we do want, what we are calling in and speaking from our I am identity and saying, this is what I want now in my life. And this is who I truly am. And that the truth of my being is that I am a unique expression of the divine. And all of that is no longer me. I no longer accept it as my identity. I no longer accept it as something it's okay for me to do or say. With anything in your life, you can decide you are done, and I'm dying to that today, in this moment. And get ready for the rising. But you got to die to something first. Reaching a higher plane necessitates that you clean something out. She uses the analogy of being constipated. It works. When it's working. When it's working. And so we can be spiritually constipated. We can be plugged up, ouch, with thoughts and ideas and behaviors that are out of alignment with our I am identity. And most of us know when we're plugged up, literally or metaphysically. Right? We're uncomfortable. Something doesn't feel right. Something's setting you off every couple of minutes. Got something niggling in your head. I got to deal with that. I got to deal with that. I got to deal with it. Oh my God, that problem's coming up again. I'm sick and tired of compromising myself. I'm tired of being sick. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of whatever it is. You know when you're there. You know when you're there. And that's when you get to die to it. Because you can continue to be there and suffer, or you can decide it's time to crucify whatever this is today and be done finally. Finally. Not till next week, not till next month, not until that ex calls you again or sends you a text or puts something on Facebook. Not until the next family reunion. Not until the end of the month before you get paid and you're feeling like you're devastated and you're broke and you're going to be homeless in another couple of hours. Not then. But finally. So with my journey, with the word imagination, I was called out by Spirit to start seeing my life and what I'm capable of and what my ambitions are, my spiritual ambitions are, what that would look like, and look at myself differently and look at myself with divine eyes. Look at my life with divine eyes. That took a whole other set of eyes for me. And it took a few weeks for it to take hold. And so probably once we started Lent and we were really talking about, what is this and what is this? What is this spiritual work that I need to do during Lent? What was that? And so my inspiration was to sit every morning and every night in the silence and to imagine, to broaden my horizons about what life can be and what my calling is and how that might roll out into the world in actuality, not in my head, because it's been rolling in my head forever. What does it look like? And so I did that. And then after that, what I was seeing with my spiritual eyes was different from how I was living. So there was a couple of days when I had to take myself to the shed, proverbial shed, have a come to Jesus moment with myself and get real about how I'm living and what I'm called to do. And they did not match up. So I got real, and I had to change some things about how I'm living, about how I'm working, especially. The two together. When I woke up in the morning, what do I expect of myself? And what am I going to do? I always said I didn't have time. And then, as I was in the shed, that was my wilderness. That was my wilderness. When I had to get real with myself about where I am, and am I really stepping into my I am identity? And I said, oh yeah, I got time for stuff that I said I didn't have time about, because I'm wasting a lot of time in the morning. A lot of time. And I've said that before, and I've been there before, but this time I was finally ready to die to it and say, I'm done. I'm done with that shoddy living. And so I changed it, and I found something that worked. And then every single day was different. Every single day was different. And I can't tell you the exact day when the switch got flipped, but you know when the switch gets flipped. You'll know it. And until then, you're still standing at the wall, playing with the switch. We've talked about that before. Looking at the switch like it's something different sooner or later. Well, perhaps not sooner or later. Sometimes some of us never do it. And some of us go to our deaths not stepping into what we are called to be. So many of us are living abbreviated lives. And we're called to greatness, to magnificence. I thought, man, I'm nowhere near that. And so I changed. It changed. And now so I am more creative. I have more energy. I've gotten more stuff done in the last 2 months than I have in the last year. Being productive. And still doing the other things that I want to do for my life. Because I think the narrative is that if you're going to succeed at something, you got to be in the hustle, like I've said before. We've talked about this. Where you got to put in 18, 20 hours a day. And I knew that's not for me. I'm not doing that. I mean, that was easier when I was in my 30s and I had more energy. And you can burn the candle at both ends and still get up the next morning and burn it some more. But when you're in your 60s, that ain't happening. You can burn that candle, but man, that burns a whole lot hotter and faster and harder. And there's not that many candles left to burn again. Running out of candles in that box. So I'm not willing to burn the candle at both ends anymore. So I knew, I always had in my consciousness that it is possible. I know that all things are possible. There's got to be a way to do what I'm called to do and not kill myself in the process. Because Spirit doesn't ask you to do that. Jesus said, I came that you may have life and have it abundantly. That whole narrative about the hustle and working 20 hours a day is somebody else's story. And if they want to do that and that puffs up their chest and they want to feel good about that and brag about that, go for it, dude. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I want to enjoy this ride. I want to enjoy this life and do and be all that I'm called to do and be. And so now, but I was just thinking this past week, when did I flip that switch? But it doesn't matter. It's flipped. It's flipped. And it's energizing. And it's scary. I have an email I just crafted last night. And I had a couple of excuses about why I can't send it right now. Well, they may not be able to read it right now. And I don't know. Maybe I need to change the wording. And I need to wordsmith this some more. So I'm going to go and edit it again. So it's still sitting in my drafts folder because I'm scared to send it. And it's just something about hitting that send button is just so hard to click on. So it's still sitting in my inbox. But I'm going to send it when I get home. All I can say is no. All I can say is no. And that's okay. But it's part of the journey. It's part of the journey. It's part of my rising to send the email. And actually, What I'm more scared of is that they'll say yes and do what I'm asking them to do. And they'll say yes for me to speak in front of this group. Yeah, I'm not scared of the no. I know what no feels like. I know what sitting on my butt feels like. I know what not rising feels like. It's the rising that scares us, folks. It's the rising that scares us. Yeah, it does. Because that higher plane, we don't know what that looks like. We don't know what that is. It's been a long time since I've been nervous in front of an audience. Yeah. Well, that's okay. I lived this long. Yeah, I got here. I wasn't always here feeling like this. So getting here was a rising, and now I'm just being called to the next one. Being called to the very next one. It's the rising that we fear. And perhaps what it is we have to let go of in order to get there. Because some of us have a stranglehold on something in our lives right now that we have to die to. Because you're used to it. And even if it doesn't feel good, it feels familiar. So it might be a relationship. It might be a way that you behave with your family. And you regress 40 years and go back to being bullied by an older sister or brother, or a younger sister and brother, or a bigger sister and brother, or a smaller sister or brother. Bully's not about size, it's about attitude, right? What do you got to let go of? I had to let go of pictures of myself, and I had to imagine something different. What's next? And how do I step into that? How do I be that? And I don't have to worry about what it looks like over here. All I have to worry about is being able to hit send on that email. To be strong enough to do that. And then whatever the reply is, then I'll step up to that. You don't have to have the whole enchilada in front of you. And those of us that are control freaks, there's no shame, no shame. But those of us who are control freaks, you know who you are. You want to know the whole journey up front. You want Spirit to lay it out. You want the whole picture. You want to know exactly what you're going to be called to do and when. And then you want to have an opinion or be able to say, I'm going to do this, I'm not going to do that. That's too scary. That's too easy. I don't like those people. I do like these people. I'm not sure. And you think you want to weigh in. What all there is to do is say yes to your good. Say yes to the rising. Say yes, I'm willing. Yes, I'll go. Yes, I'll send the email. It's all just steps and continual dying and rising. Die to something, kick it out of your life, kick it to the curb, and move on. And move on. Get rid of the baggage. Your good is waiting for you. The rising is waiting for you. So what's going on with the words that's chosen you? And if you're serious about this journey and you've been working with it and meditating on it and waiting for it, and even if you haven't, all of us know that there's something in our lives right now that we need to kick to the curb. Don't you? What are you going to do? You going to kick it? You're going to die to it? You're going to finally say, I'm done to this particular thing that is not you anyway. It is not who you are. If you're living in less than territory, it is not you. The choir is practicing the prayer of Jabez. And it's a prayer. Enlarge my territory. I pray for increase. That's what that's about, a rising. He's singing about rising, that I want rising. I want that. God, I want that to rise into this area. I want increase. Increase my territory. Your spiritual territory, who you are, the real estate of who you are. I'm ready to awaken. And everything that you need in order to do that is within you. You just got to say, I'm done with the small stuff. I'm stepping forward. Poke me with a fork, I'm done. And walk away into something better and get ready for the rising, whatever that looks like. And trust. If you trust, we all say we trust God. We all say that we believe in the good. And then when it comes down to it, if you're unable to flip the switch, then you really don't believe. Just say you do. So do you really believe that the all good has your back? And that every time you're called forth, you're being called forth to something that will answer hopes and dreams that you've had? When we read that affirmation at the end that everything's always working out for me, do you truly believe that, or you just say it because we're in the room and everybody else is saying it? It feels good to say it. Everything's always working out for me. Ooh, yeah, woohoo. Or do you really believe it? Because when you believe it, you can flip the switch and say, I don't know what's coming, but it's good. I don't know what's coming, and yes. I don't know what's coming, and I'm willing. Yeah, see it happening. See it happening. And whatever you can conceive of and wrap your heart around will happen. Shall happen is what Scripture says. Shall happen. It must happen. If you envision it, put your heart behind it, it has to happen. Because that's the law of the universe. So this week, whatever it is you're working on with your word, this is Passion Week, when Jesus is coming up to the crucifixion, where he finally says, I'm done, I'm done, I'm done, I'm done, I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this. Let's do this. This is the time to get ready, these days coming up, to whatever it is you're going to be called to. And then after that, second quarter, 2023, we'll be working on embracing what this is and being in the I am identity with that particular thing that you're being called to. Bringing it into action. We're taking it out of the mind and out of thought and bringing it into actuality. Making it work in our lives, taking the steps to make it happen, to be that thing that you're being called to. It's okay to be afraid. Just don't let it stop you. I've been scared of an email for the last 24 hours. So the question is, are you ready? How are you going to say yes? And the disclaimer always is, right? If you say no, you are love, you are still the I am identity, you are still treasured, you are still the beloved, you are still love, you are still life, all of those things. You still have all of those 12 powers waiting for you to make them work and to invoke them and say they are yours, because they are. You get to choose the abbreviated life or life abundant. Let's take this in a meditation. So I want you to think of your word or something that's going on in your life that you need to die to. What image do you have of yourself that is out of alignment with your divine self? Where are you playing small? And what is your word for the year calling you to? What is it that you're sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired about? In what area of your life have you contracted? And are you ready to rise? If we're going to follow in the steps of Jesus, this is the week of rising, the week of dying and rising. The week of letting go of the small stuff. The week of starting to embrace your magnificence. Because as we embrace our magnificence, we have an experience of God. A deep experience of God. A deep, deep experience of love, divine life, in and as you. A deeper experience than you've ever had before. You'll no longer just talk of God. You will know, truly know God, and you will know yourself as the I am identity. You will begin to know yourself as starlight. As a light that will transform this world. That will exponentially add to a consciousness of peace and love and harmony and unity and goodness. And you will inspire all those that you come in contact with. even without speaking a word. They will feel your light. They will experience your light. And in that, they will have an experience of the divine themselves. And you will give them permission to embrace their own magnificence. So breathe in love and light, magnificence, exhale it, knowing that this energy is infinite. And as you give it to the world, to all those around you, that more is pouring in and through you. And as you step more fully into your magnificence, you will be unable to stop the flow of good in your life. It'll flow so hard and so fast, all you'll be able to do is smile and say thank you. And pass a little bit more on to somebody else in need of light. So just be in this moment, holding your word in your heart, holding some goodness in your heart right now. Knowing that your consciousness has stretched, has expanded, and it cannot go back to where it was before. It's impossible. And say in your heart of hearts right now, I am light. I am light. I am light. I am brilliant light. I am light. And so it is, and so it shall be.